Claude Code for me is 43% faster than it is for you. It uses half the number of tokens, a fraction the number of tool calls, and the results are better. Here's how. We do that by giving it a Johnny.Decimal structure to work within. What I'm going to do here is show you my actual small business system. I've obfuscated it so I can show it on camera, but otherwise it's actually the system I use all day long. The principles here are the same whether you run your own small business using my system, whether you run operations at some major company, you might be working on a large project, it doesn't matter. The point here is that given sensible structure and some rules, Claude or any agent can be a lot more effective. So what we're going to do here is a side-by-side, and in the green corner we've got Susan. Susan is our star pupil. She's using my small business system. Like I say, I've just obfuscated it so I'm not showing my actual business data, but these are my actual files and my actual structure, identical, just with names changed. And then in the red corner we've got Jim. Jim is not so smart, unfortunately. What we've done for Jim, and I recognize it's actually quite a hard test to manufacture, to create two business structures that are actually full of actual business documentation. It takes quite a bit of work. So what I did with Jim was to take my business structure and just mess it up as best I could and create, it is a parody. It's a parody of every job I've ever worked at, frankly, where you have duplicate, badly named, inconsistent folders with files all over the place and no structure to them. So that's what Jim's working with. Susan's also working with a bunch of skills and scripts that I've made for Claude, and Jim's working just with base Claude as you see it. Before recording this, I did a side-by-side because it was just a lot easier to do one run and time it and then do another run rather than having to try and paste into two windows. Here are the results. So Susan's took 3.5 minutes and Jim took 6.5 minutes to do exactly the same thing. That's 43% faster. Susan's session used 40,000 tokens and Jim used double that. So we are talking literally half the number of tokens. Imagine that across your project or your business. Tool calls are a bit harder to count because Claude doesn't actually give you a count of them. But as we'll see in a minute, you can see Jim's agent just goes wild trying to find things. And Susan's agent is a lot more targeted because it knows where to go. Most importantly though, Susan's results are just better. They're better and more accurate and more useful for me, the human. What I'm building are some tools which will be a command line utility that will be usable with or without an agent. That will be useful anyway to do things like validate structure and just make sure everything's lined up. Then I am building JDHQ, my site. I want to be the hub. I don't want to store, I'm building the things for myself first, right? So I think I'm going to keep using Obsidian for notes because it's a great notes manager. Why would I create another one of those? But what I want to store is metadata about my items. What links to what are their states, where do they exist? And then the CLI over an API, which is just an internet connection, will be able to talk back to your central data store of all of your stuff. So imagine this, you can now use an agent, OpenClaw or whatever, and you can give it access to the metadata about your business system or your personal life or your work project or whatever it is. And it can use the same metadata as you use in any other app. And now we have think of it like as a communication fabric for your agents, but a much more deterministic one. So let's just dive in and see how I do that. So here are the side-by-sides. We've got Susan on the left, Jim on the right. They're both running, I'm logged into different user accounts on my Mac. They're both clean. They've both received a copy of this data of my obfuscated small business system. They're both running plain Sonnet on medium effort, nothing special there. So what I'm going to do is just start off by giving it a prompt. And here's the first prompt, is that a customer emailed to say that they paid a coffee, it's a donation platform, but haven't received access. Can you trace when the payment would have ended up? Now, in the green corner, what Susan's agent does is go directly to the JDex, which is a structured Obsidian vault full of knowledge in a very structured way. And I've given it the tools and the knowledge to understand how that works. So it can navigate itself very quickly to the finance area, which you can see it's already done. On the right-hand side, you can see Jim's agent is just tool calling. It's just finding because it doesn't know what to do. It doesn't have any context of his business structure because, frankly, he doesn't have one. Now, Claude is remarkably good at finding things, as you probably know, and it will eventually find some stuff for him. But what it finds might not be the right thing. There's no guarantee that it's the only or latest version. These are all my criticisms of most filing systems, and those criticisms apply exactly the same whether or not you're using an agent. If you don't have single versions of files, if you've got duplicate files, your agent's going to find one and it can't possibly know that it's an older duplicate, so it's going to do the wrong thing. We can see that Susan's finished in the green corner there. I'm not going to go through the results, they're not so important. You can pause and read them if you're interested. But what's important is that Susan's thing actually found some useful knowledge, which was in my JDex, and on the red corner, that one has not. So let's just hit the next follow-up query. I'm going to ask, do you have any bank exports that you can check for that transaction? Here's another thing. In Susan's folder, I've put a file called datetransactions.csv, but again, that's in a folder of bank stuff, so it knows where to look. That will be found. You can see it's actually being found on the right-hand side there because of the pattern matching. But again, Susan's thing is in the right place and it understands it's a bank thing. And on the red side, we've found something and we're lucky if it is the right thing. Both of those in that case have actually found the thing, except on the red side, that is not the correct number for some reason, and on the green side that is the right number. And you can see on the green side, Susan's side is pulling us a lot more useful information because of the way that these bank things are linked in her JDex, and again because of the interconnected nature of her data. Now I'll just stress here, none of this is free from a time or effort perspective. What I'm showing you in Susan's corner is my business system that I spend all day in. I curate this data. This is an Obsidian vault. But the point is that it's the same Obsidian vault that I use every day. And so the knowledge that we're referring to in Susan's corner isn't, I know exactly where it is. And if I want to affect it myself, I just open Obsidian, which I have open all day anyway, and I type myself some notes. And most importantly, when we ask the agent to update that knowledge, which we'll do in a minute, that same knowledge is then readable by me. We're not creating knowledge deep in some agent structure that you, the human, don't understand, because I don't want to sit and type to Claude all day long to use my business system. This is actually slower than me just doing it myself, right? If I just went to Obsidian and opened the note called coffee, it's quicker for me to find, right? That's much quicker than Claude. So don't get lazy. But what I'm saying is that there is this deeper analysis you can do using your agents, and you can use them to connect things together and find things for you. And if you use the structured system, it's going to be better and faster. So let's have a look at the next query. What are we going to do? Let's branch out a bit. We're going to ask it where my work cover renewal is. And I've mentioned an inbox here. Slight typo on the left. I'm sure Claude will pick that up. The inbox is a special place in Johnny.Decimal, which is something else I've built into the skills. This allows you to drop files in an inbox. And soon I'm going to build tools that will automatically classify them, again, based on your existing business structure. In the green corner, we're basing decisions based on an existing structure that you control. And in the red corner, Claude's just guessing a bunch of stuff. So we can find files. What we can do with this as well is to drop things in an inbox and have them automatically classified out into our file system, because again, we have a structure, we know where they're going to be. What the Johnny.Decimal structure gives you is more deterministic results with your agent. As I'm sure you know, your agent is terribly undeterministic, which is a feature. It's amazing. It's what makes it so powerful, is that it has the ability to invent things. That's extraordinary. But in some cases, you do not want to invent things. What you want to do is file your bank statement in a place where you know it's going to be when you go and look for it. So that's one of the benefits of my system as well. Let's see what's going on here. We've got green corner is looking for an inbox and is found 00.01. On the right hand side, James has found some stuff. I'll just pause while it finishes. And that's a really nice example, because in Susan's window, you can see it's found 4 files in the inbox and has given us 4 destinations, which are very clear and distinct folders where we know exactly where they are. That bottom one's a nice one. That's an email, a Cloudflare domain renewal email. And it knows exactly it's going to put it in folder 14.51 domain and DNS management, which, just to be clear, you can find yourself as the human, because that's in business administration, and then it's in technology. And then there we are at 1451 domain and DNS management. So again, there's no mystery there. Jim's thing is going to put that in some folder for you, but who knows where that's going to end up. Let's see what our next query is. I might jump. I'll do these and let's see how long this lasts. And Lucy can just cut this out if she wants to. So I need to start my quarterly BAS prep. What's the process? This is a quarterly tax preparation that Australians have to do. Again, I have that documented in my system. And again, this isn't for free. I did that myself, although we could probably, there you go, that was really quick on the in the green corner. It's found my documentation. This is specific to my business. I have to go and download a bunch of stuff from PayPal and Stripe and then do a bunch of boring stuff in Excel. And on the right hand side, we're still working trying to find that. Where this gets really interesting is that I could potentially ask Claude, and actually this might be a good idea because I hate doing this, it's really boring. I could potentially ask Claude now to automate this process for me because it understands my business and it would know where to go to get the aspects of my business. It knows where my Stripe data is. When it downloads the Stripe report, it knows where to put it so that I can find it later, and it could do that analysis for me. Jim's side took a lot longer there and the results are worse. And let's just prove this concept about adding notes back into your system. So what we're going to do is add a note to the JDex. It's a bit unfair on Jim there because it doesn't know what a JDex is, so it's going to have a look. But Susan's already finished, right? It's found the note for Blue Credit, which is my bank, my obfuscated bank, and it's added a note into that. And just to be clear, what's happened there is if we open that note in there, that's the line in my Obsidian vault that I spend all day in that my agent has added for me. So that's immediately useful to me as well. And Jim's still working. I will put it out of its misery. Last little test. I like this. Actually, I got a few more tests. I'm going to just keep doing these because they're quite handy and they're working quite well. What am I working on? So what I have in my business system are a bunch of work packages. It's part of my project management approach. And there they are. It's listed out my current active work packages. That bottom one, W145, is this video that we're working on. And it's going to get some state and do some interesting things. And again, Jim has no structure. Jim has no hook into his work. What I'm going to do with the tools I'm building, which are available at JDHQ.Johnny.Decimal.com, they will be when I release them in the next 2 months perhaps, is to give your agent much better knowledge of, so for example, I manage these projects in Things, the Mac OS Task Manager, using the same numbers. So my agent can reach into Things and deterministically, using W145 as the project ID, deterministically reach in there and read state and potentially create or complete tasks or whatever for me. On the right hand side, this garbage that Jim's thing has come up with is just flat wrong. That's not what I'm working on. Let's have a look at something else. Let's give me my high level review of my financials. From an organizational perspective, you get the idea by now. Let's just see what the results come back for this. You can see Susan's agent has come up with some useful stuff for me and Jim's will not. And finally, let's just create me. I'm going to put Jim out of his misery again. You can see how long it takes when there is no structure on the red corner. It just keeps going. It just keeps finding. It just rummages around hoping to find something, which it usually does. But it takes ages and the results are terrible. Create me a process for onboarding a new supplier. I've chosen this as an example because what this is going to do is write a process back to my JDex, which is, again, the system that I use all day long. So let's pause while it does that for me. And we can see what Susan's has done there. It has written us a new process in 24, processes and procedures, 2421. It's actually chosen, I need to tell it about, I'm using the folder notes plugin here, so it hasn't picked 2421 up as an existing ID. I need to improve the skill. That has written us a supplier onboarding process, which again is in my processes and procedures folder. Jim's has suggested a process and it says, do you want to save this somewhere in your system? Let's just say yes, please, and see what it comes up with, because I don't know where it doesn't know where to put that. There is no sensible place. There we go. Jim's has saved in some notes file that you're never going to find again. JDHQ.Johnny.Decimal.com.